This installation is for a white speaker post.
So in this video, I'm going to show you the setup of the display and the components and a couple things that are consistent across all the McDonald's speaker post installation. So first off, this is the kit A, or everything that comes in the display kit. Open up the display, take out the power supply, use this box for all the garbage. You will not need the offset bracket or the U bracket, so you can just put that aside for now. There's the hardware kit. You will need the ring bracket. You will eventually need the wire nuts. Keep them in the box right now. And you'll need the machine screws. All the rest of this stuff just keep in the box. You only need 4 machine screws. There are 6, but you really only need 4 for this installation. So the first important thing is to make sure that your display has the photocell on the right hand side looking at the front of the display. So the photocell on the right, you have your tabs on the top and bottom. It's always things to make sure that you're looking at throughout the installation. And then your ring bracket, you want to have your tabs on the left, the right, and the top. So just go ahead and drop that through the back, the wires. And then your photocell is on the right. Then I usually use a small short screwdriver to get these started and then finish putting them in as I do the rest of them with the actual cordless screwdriver. And you put 2 on the other side. If you start them with the actual cordless drill, you might be apt to strip them out. So I like to start them with the actual short screwdriver or by hand, however you want to do it, and then use the cordless drill. And set the drill on a slip so that you don't strip them out, because you don't really need these things in there and stripped out really tight. So now that you got the display set up, and once again you've got your photocell on the right hand side looking at it, and your tabs are on the right, left, and top, and they're facing forward. They're bent forward. And here's your power supply that you'll hook up later to the electrical connection inside the speaker post. Here's the flush mount kit. The flush mount kit will have your hardware inside the bag, your cut template, and this is your back box, and this is your front ring. So the next thing you can do, actually before you do the installation, you can run this through the back, which you'll see in the actual installation itself on the video on site. There is no top or bottom to this box, so you just slip it over the back. Any way it goes, it'll stay in place. There is a top and bottom to this ring. You put the 2 vent holes on the bottom, and then it goes over like that. So basically just comes together like a one-piece unit. So your holes are on the bottom here, photocell is on the right, and then it goes into your speaker post once you cut the hole out this way. That's basically what we do, is set these things up on site first and then start working at the actual speaker post itself. The last thing is the power supply battery pack. If you are using one of these because you only have a switched power circuit from the canopy lighting at the speaker post, use the power supply battery pack. Put a couple dabs of silicone here, peel back the double stick high bond tape. Put the silicone there in case this tape ever lets go, but it is outdoor rated high bond tape. You never have to open this cover unless we were to replace the power supply charger. There's no need to open this. The first thing you want to do is hook this up to the switch circuit at the speaker post. We've also found if you don't have a switch circuit there, there's either a dedicated circuit or a switch circuit at some of the underground electrical boxes near the speaker post. You'll see that in the video. The second thing to do is to wire up the DC out to the DC in of your power supply. I mean to your from your power supply to the display itself. Just hook those wires up. And the last thing you'll want to do, never connect the battery up until everything else is connected, and then you just do the red to red and black to black. And you'll see some of this stuff in the actual on-site videos, but this is a consistent setup across the board. You're always going to set the display up the same way. The back box flush mount kit always is the same way. And if you're going to use this power supply battery pack, you're going to wire it up the same way. If you are going to use this, you're not going to need this, obviously. And we also include a small, what we call a pigtail connector that you can wire into a junction box or any wiring in there that this will plug into, so you don't have to cut the end of this off. So we'll go and get into some on-site videos. But basically those are the pieces and components that are consistent across the board. And the on-site installation will have some variables in it, but that will be shown to the best of our ability inside of the installation guide and or in the video. All right, the first part of this installation is to go ahead and prep the COD speaker post so that you'll be able to put the display in. Now in this case you have to pull the COD out itself, and there's two different options to do that. There's 4 bolts on these corners here that you can loosen up, align these slots, and take this whole unit out. Or you can go ahead and put a socket up through the fan blade, maybe pop out a fan blade here, and then disconnect these 2 screws and then just drop this, which leaves everything else behind. So the choice is yours. The other thing is, if there's electrical in here left behind, and in this case it was not, if it is, you can wire in the pigtail that's provided in the kit B. If not, what you'll do is go ahead and, if you want, there's a couple different options. You can either wire to the circuit that goes to the lighting, and that will require a power supply battery pack, but you can wire into that and then mount the power supply battery pack in here, which will show later on in the video, and it'll charge every time the lights come on at night. The other option is to go ahead and just turn the lights on if the circuit breaker's on for these lights and you want to keep the lights on, and then you can wire the pigtail into that circuit. Or in this case, what we've done is there is a spare conduit inside here that goes to an underground junction box where we just run about 6 feet of wire through the existing conduit. And what we're finding is that most of it has the J-box out here in the landscaping, which is right around those tools right here. So basically the prepping is just a function of getting everything ready before you can do the display. So you'll remove the COD that's in there, find your electrical source, and basically prep everything before you put the FlashRight display in. So now you can see it's wide open. You'll have totally all the room you need to mount either the power supply if you decide to go down that road, or go ahead and mount the display, the FlashRight Display in its place. I'm going to remove this panel, take these 4 screws out. This is done with the hex head, or I mean with the nut driver in the back. Flip this panel and then silicone behind it, then replace it so that we'll have our new labels put in place, and it'll be a nice clean install when we're done. Next step is go ahead after you got the panel removed, wipe around the edges, get this stuff out, then run from the screw hole over silicone on the top and the 2 sides, and then just go ahead and reverse your panel. Sometimes the panel comes with, they just use regular screws going in. Also, the other thing to keep in mind when you're doing this is that this is an important part where some of these panels here are mounted lower down here. So when you're doing your template measurement, go ahead and just make sure that your template does stay on this panel. And I'll follow that up with a later part of the video. So the next thing would be to go ahead and put the ADA sticker on both sides of the speaker. And then sometimes this label is a lot lower, it might be seen. You can put this on last, or I just put it on now, and if it gets cut out, it gets cut out. But at least that covers that particular label up. But in this case, I can tell right now it's going to get cut out and it'll be all covered up. But sometimes that label's lower. That's why we provide that little piece. So here is the labels after they've been completed and in place. So now you're going to put the template in and center the template from side to side. This is 30 inches, so you can go ahead and put the template centered. And I use these 2 small pieces of tape. And in this case, you need to be a minimum of 6 inches below the speaker post. Now with this plate being where it is, you don't want to have it above it by any means. Sometimes that does happen. I just bring it down and flush it to the top of that, because then it keeps the ring on the actual plate itself and helps keep the top part secured, because sometimes it'll bow. And then I just touch it really a little bit here so I can adjust it, and that's got to go over. So once you get this in place, we'll go to the next step. It's 15 inches, and make sure it's 15 inches. And make sure everything's really square, because this is very important to drill your holes the right way, and you got plenty of room for your cutout, but this is the most important part to make the display and the rest of it square up. So the next step here, gone ahead and we put the template in place, taped it all in place, and it's really important to drill exactly where these holes are, because this is going to square up everything for your display. So drill your 4 1/8-inch drill bit holes, and you either use a 3/8 here, and in my case I'll use a 1/8-inch here, and then use this cone or uni bit to make my 3/8-inch holes. It's just a little bit faster. So I've gone ahead and drilled the holes, drilled our pilot holes, and then I like to use a battery pack jigsaw because it cuts and you don't have to worry about dealing with a cord anywhere. Okay, now that we've got the hole cut, what I'm going to do is just drop the display wire through, pop this in, make sure your photo cell is on the right hand side. Then I unbag everything so I can just put the ring over here next, and then I have my screws down here also. So make sure the very top screw, pop it through the foam before you try to screw it in place. Otherwise, sometimes it'll bind up on the foam seal and rip the seal. Then I put it in, running at about 75%. Then do the bottom one, same way, pop it through the seal, find the hole, and run it in 75%. And then at that point, start the other two. Make sure it goes through the foam. And we provide an extra one in case you drop it. At that point, you want to make sure everything looks straight, and the display, because you do have some play. Normally I just push the display up to the top and it squares everything off. And put it on your slip setting. And just don't over tighten it. There's no need to over tighten it. If you strip it out, even if you don't strip it out, go to the back next and put these 4 clips on the back screws just in case. But none of those stripped out and they all torqued in very well. Okay, I went back and put the clips, which you'll see in the manual, on the back of the screws. Now it's time to put the Velcro. Make sure the Velcro goes along the top and the 2 sides, and do not put it over the screws themselves. Otherwise it won't let the surround panel secure properly. Okay, now to put the insert panel in and the surround panel. Just drop the insert panel in from the top to the bottom and snap it in. Make sure it's behind the 2 bumps in the bottom. That's very important. And then you can just lay this on top and just let the top lay in place, and then push along the sides and the top. That'll make sure everything's square, because your display is square. This will all be square now also. And make sure you push firmly on the Velcro to make sure that adheres. So we've got the display installed now. Gone ahead and wired in the power supply with the wire nuts supplied. What you do is just twist those together, but they'll grab, and one of the tricks are to put your finger inside of the seal itself and break the seal before you put the wire in. And you can just twist it all together. And once the conductors start twisting together, you got a good bite. Take one of the small tie wraps, take the jackets, usually tie that together also. And you can neatly bundle all this wiring up and set it to the side. In this case, and if you would like, you can go ahead and mount this right here also with some tie wraps, and then plug it into the power supply where the pigtail where we wired it in earlier when we were prepping the actual unit itself. So you got 2 of these 8-inch tie wraps to bundle all this up, and then you can either mount the power supply there and bring it along here, and then plug it into your existing power source, or like I said, the power supply you got here. So that basically completes the installation for a white speaker post install with a FlashRight display.